This episode of Texas Barons Podcast is brought to you by our first unofficial sponsor, White Realty. Are you looking to start, move, or expand your business to downtown Wichita Falls? Look no further than White Realty. White Realty owns and operates four of the most prominent buildings in downtown Wichita Falls area: the Hamilton Building, the Energy Center, the Oil and Gas Building, and City National Bank. White Realty has tenants of all kinds: lawyers, counselors, restaurants, and even someone that sells comic books. There's so many different options and floor plans available for any type of business you have. And if that's not enough, or you're not in need of an office space but need a large event room to host parties, proms, or weddings, check out the ballroom on top of the Hamilton Building. Again, that's a White Realty here in Wichita Falls. And don't forget to mention my name, Levi Watts, at your lease signing to take advantage of their referral program and get up to half off your first month's rent. Texas Barons Podcast, let's go.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? Today we have such a special guest here in Wichita County. I call it our Tri-County area, Wichita, Clay, and Archer County, Miss Kathleen Brown. And she is running for, Kathleen, tell me what district it is that you're running for.
It's the 13th district, and it is a federal office.
Awesome. So super important position, and it's currently held by Mr. Ronny Jackson, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'm sure y'all have heard of him and just the position that he holds, and then Kathleen is running as a Democratic candidate against him in November, correct?
That is correct, November 8th.
Awesome. So we're here to hear a story of what she does professionally, how she got interested in politics, and then her experience while running. And then hopefully we can kind of encourage other people to get in. But I want to get her story out to all of our people in Texas so we can have some actual informed, some voting information. We can go to the polls and actually know who we're voting for or voting against and why we should do it. So anyways, we're just going to dive right in. I wanted to kind of change things up a little bit different. Normally, we wait till the end of the show to plug all of our socials and then tell how to get a hold of everybody. But today, I wanted to give Kathleen the floor at first so she can plug all of her stuff, and then y'all can look her up immediately as soon as y'all hear this, so you know who you're listening to. So Kathleen, go ahead. Tell them how to get a hold of you.
Well, you can follow me on Facebook, and we're live streaming right now.
Cool.
Actually. And my Facebook is Kathleen for TX13. And then you can find me on TikTok, which is Kathleen for District TikTok is Kathleen for TX13. Twitter is Cat District 13. Little shout out to the Hunger Games.
Nice. Yeah.
And then my Instagram is Kathleen for TX13.
Cool. So y'all can check it out. You can pause this right now, go look her up, see what she's about. But you're about to learn a lot about Miss Kathleen today. So anyways, I'd like to just give you the floor. If you have anything to get off your chest that you just want to bring up immediately, feel free to do it now. If you just want to say hi, keep it as long or as short as possible. And if not, we can just jump right in. So you go ahead.
Well, I want to shout out right now to people who are live streaming. So if you want to see the magic happen as it gets created, just jump on Facebook. It's almost lunchtime anyway. The main thing I want to get out, I think, is I want everyone to look for my letter to the editor that I've released to every newspaper article in District 13. And District 13 goes from the Panhandle, follows the Red River, and ends in Denton. So I say Delhart to Denton.
Perfect.
It's a very big district. It's bigger than many states. It encompasses 38 counties, all of which have a rural area. And so I've released this letter to the editor, and it discusses basically the real harm, the extreme Texas abortion ban will cause on women. And this is why it's so important in Texas is Texas, number one, already has the highest maternal mortality rate in any developed nation. So for every 100,000 live births, 38.5 people die.
Oh my God.
That's really high. The national average is like 17 or 19.
That's disappointing.
And then what really bothers me is because all 38 of my counties, including Denton County and Wichita County and Potter and Randall, have rural areas. And statistically, rural areas have a much higher maternal mortality rate than urban areas, just because of healthcare access.
I gotcha.
So why I want everyone to please read this letter to the editor. It is just 2 pages long. It's based on my experience as a medical malpractice attorney and going through the tort reform and the findings they found on how harsh laws against doctors can drive those doctors out of our state.
Okay.
And so why I think the very strict abortion bans will ultimately end in women dying is if the Republican Texas legislature really believed in 2003 that higher insurance premiums for medical malpractice were going to drive doctors away from Texas. What do we think is going to happen when we start sentencing them to 5 to 99 if we disagree with their medical judgment as to whether or not to terminate a pregnancy?
Right. They're professional, their professional judgment on that. And to be held back by laws to help their patient just almost seems like something out of a bad movie, and I just, my personal opinion, I just can't disagree with this as much as physically possible, just because, when people think of Texas, me included, you think of like the real land of the free. People say the best of the best because we're in Texas, in the United States of America, the best of the best. And you think of cowboys and freedom and barbecue and Second Amendment. And you shouldn't think of like, why are we holding back rights from women? Why are we holding back rights from anybody? This is supposed to be the land of the free, the Lone Star State. And I'm so disappointed that we would hold anybody back from anything, let alone healthcare, which is such a hot topic right now. And we can for sure dive into that. That's just me kind of on my soapbox, but we needed to get that message out about her letter to the editor. And y'all need to be asking, is this in my newspaper? Check it out. We need to know who's publishing it or not. Is there any, holding back of the message? But anyways, I'm glad that you got that out there. We can dive more into that because your opinion matters for the position that you're going to. So we can hear how you feel about that, what you would do if you were to get elected. So, but anyways, to start back a little bit, let's just rewind a little bit and we can get into where we're headed in the future. But Kathleen, what do you do professionally from Monday through Friday when you're not running for Congress? What do you do with the rest of your free time?
So to put the beans on the table, so to speak, I am a practicing attorney. I have been an attorney in Wichita Falls for 20 years.
Okay.
I'm an AV rated attorney, which is the highest rating you can get. And how you get that rating is 30 anonymous judges and attorneys who have practiced with you grade you on your ethics, on your knowledge of the law, and on your skill set. And then they did write back to Martindale-Hubbell, and based on that, they determine if attorneys are going to be AV rated, which is the highest, BV rated, or not rated. And so I'm AV rated, which is
cool.
A real honor.
It's like getting an A+ on your report card, basically, but through your peers.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it's anonymous, so they can speak the truth.
Okay, good. That is good because, so many different things. People are kind of worried about putting their opinion out there for the scrutiny they might get. So something like that it's kind of good to have a little bit of protected identity so they can really 100% put their opinion out there on you. But congrats for you for having that position. And that was called an AV?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Alpha Victor.
Okay, cool. And then, so do you own your own law office?
Yes, I do.
That's awesome. So on here, I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but it is to highlight local entrepreneurs and politicians. So what's your experience been running your own office? How long have you been doing that?
I've been running my own office for 10 years.
Okay.
Everyone, and I think all small business owners can relate with me when I say this. Whenever you tell someone you work for yourself, they're like, oh, that must be nice. I'm like, well, you're usually the first one there and the last one home, and
Right.
you're the last one to get paid. And
Yep. That's so true. So true. So many different problems come with it, but man, so many good things come with it as well. So, I mean, any great experiences working and owning an office here in Wichita Falls?
I think what I like the most about being an attorney is the ability, for me, when someone comes in and they think that their world's over, they don't know what to do, they feel hopeless and helpless and trapped and scared. I feel like I'm worth the oxygen I consume by helping them get through such a hard situation, hopefully with their sanity intact, help them find some peace, help them resolve their problems. That's just, I guess, my calling. I'm someone
Cool.
who normally is a server.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like there's a reason I'm living on this earth when I can make someone's life just a little bit better.
Cool. Well, I like that. I really do. And I can relate that answer to John Gillespie. He learned very early that he was like, I'm here to help kids. That's exactly what I want to do. And man, he does a good job at it as well. So it is cool to have that kind of light bulb moment, like, this is what I should be doing. This is awesome. And I just feel, you just know when you hit the right groove and you're in the right thing, and it's such an amazing feeling. And I hope a lot of other, talented people get to experience that as well. But so kind of just walk me through, what's a normal client that you take on? Are you normally representing defendants, or are you in the criminal side of things, or kind of just walk me through who your ideal client is?
I'm a civil litigator.
Okay.
I normally represent plaintiffs, people who've been wronged.
Okay.
One of the phrases from the Bible that I have on all my emails that I tape in front of me is, speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves.
Love that.
And that's been my driving force. And so I always try and speak up for people who are normally someone that an attorney, I don't want to say my caliber, that sounds awful, but an attorney that is knowledgeable of the law,
Right.
Would advocate for them. So, because, I've been in that position where a lot of us get overlooked, because we don't have power, we don't have money, or we don't have prestige or popularity, but we're still human beings. We still deserve
Right.
the best advocacy we deserve. And so I've always gone for plaintiff's work. I've always done plaintiff's work, or I do a lot of high conflict litigation, because I seem to have a knack for getting people who really think they hate each other and they can't come to an agreement on anything. I'm pretty good at getting them to see, hey, this fighting is not getting us anywhere. What's our goal? Let's focus on the goal. Let's de-escalate the situation, and let's figure out a way that we can work together, to raise our child in a healthy way. I think I'm perfect for Congress.
Cool. Good. That is good, because it's not so much, what do you call that, custody battle, but man, it is kind of like, I'd say, handling a bunch of kids a lot of the times. If you pay attention to like what our higher offices are doing, it's like, man, come on. But anyways, that's good. That's a great skill set to have, and I really believe that you're bringing positivity to your clients, so that's good. And then I wanted to know if you do you have people working under you? Do you hire or fire anybody? What's your
I hate
office
firing
like?
people.
Yeah.
No, I have some wonderful people who work with me. I have a paralegal and a receptionist, and I have someone who helps me out also with bookkeeping.
Okay,
So, because I like the lawyering part,
Right.
I hate the other part. It's not fun. It's necessary, but it doesn't. It's not what gets me up in the morning.
Right, exactly. And then so many people now are going into business for themselves because they realize, hey, I'm a good attorney, or I'm a great welder or carpenter, whatever it is. And then they're like, I can provide a great service to people around me, but I have no clue about running a business or managing a business. So that's a perfect example of, you knew you were a good attorney, and then I'm just going to hire somebody for the right things later on, whether it be bookkeeping, whether it be managing clients, whatever it is. So good for you. Great tactic, and way to just stick to your guns of what you're good at, So people, pay attention. good tips here. But anyways, you've been all 10 years in Wichita Falls?
I practiced for 10 years before that with a prestigious firm called Banner, Briley & White.
Okay.
And then when the gentleman retired, I didn't want to go to another firm. I felt like I had cut my teeth appropriately. I had the best training and mentorship I could get from Steve Briley and Jack Banner and Harold White. And so I thought, I'm going to go and hang my own shingle and see how it works out. And I've been really blessed. I have such a good clientele. I do not have to advertise.
Good.
In fact, right now I'm not taking any new cases, everybody. So
kind of fully loaded right now.
Fully loaded,
Gotcha.
and I want to always do the best job I can.
Right.
And I feel like as a business person, when you've got too much on your plate, and so you have to learn for your own sanity, for your own reputation, for your own business life. You have to learn when to pull back,
Right.
Because You can't live your life just for the dollar, or you're going to wake up one day on your deathbed and say, gosh, I wish I had spent more time with my family. So you really do have to learn to pull back.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's just good to have your wits about you, knowing what you can and can't do and what you do and don't want to do, because so many young entrepreneurs are just got that kind of not shiny penny syndrome, where you're looking for the next great thing, but with the client side of things, where they're just, I'll take any job. I want it. I want to work. I want to work for these people, and I want them to have good things to say about me. But man, a man or woman can really run themselves ragged from wanting to do every single welding job or take every single client as an attorney, and then you're kind of getting stretched thin, and you're not performing as well as you could because you're worried about 20 other people or 20 other projects. So good for you for knowing where you're most comfortable and where you're most you're just best for your clients at, And then good question with that. When you get your plate as full as you want it, do you consider raising your prices, or does anything change once you get to that point? Or are you just like, what, my prices are what they are, and I'm just going to keep them that way because it works for everybody in the past? What kind of goes through your brain then?
I normally keep my prices the same.
I gotcha.
I had to raise them recently because of inflation.
Right.
But normally, if my plate's full, then I start I call it triaging, because before I was a lawyer, I was a respiratory therapist.
Okay.
So then I start triaging cases, which means if it's something that I feel like another attorney can handle because it's not as high conflict, then I'll refer them to that attorney. And then if it's something that's really requires my level of my skill set, which is just dealing with people who are really hurting, really scared, really struggling, for some reason I'm pretty good at getting them to see that it's not going to be that bad.
Okay.
You've got it, and creating that rapport, building that trust, letting them learn to trust me, and then getting them what they need, because it's very scary. You're, as a lawyer, you're in a position, if you were not a good person, to take advantage of people.
Yeah.
And so and you could charge them a ton of money and not do any work because they're scared. They don't know.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
And they're maybe looking up to you as a leader in a tough time, or looking to lean on you, being experienced in this type of realm, where they're just a first time victim to something. Yeah, someone could seriously get taken advantage of. So good for you, Kathleen.
Well, that's why I decided to run.
Good.
Let's circle back to this.
Yeah, for sure. So perfect way to get back into it is, or to get to the real meat and potatoes is, let's get to, when did you decide to run? What? And then we'll get to what really clicked in your brain to be like, okay, I'm putting my hat in the ring. What time frame are we talking about?
Well, I can give you the day. It was January 6th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a feeling I might have to do something around November 4th of 2020.
Okay.
Because our Congressman-elect Ronny Jackson began tweeting, "Stop the steal," right? But and I'm someone, and every attorney will tell you this, right? Even if we think we know, if you're a really good attorney, you're going to check anyway, right? Because we're used to, as litigators, for someone pushing back on us. Like expect to be pushed back on
Right.
by the opposing counsel, by co-counsel, by the judge. So litigators know to be well prepared, well researched, think about all the different points of view, and make sure you know what you're talking about before you stand up and open your mouth.
Gotcha.
Because I've eaten crow a few times. I always tease. I said it must be my favorite dish.
Just keep ordering it back and forth.
I know, yes. But so I started looking on Pacer, which is it's a program that attorneys have access to, where we can follow federal case law.
Okay.
And all of Trump's cases were in federal court, obviously, because it was a federal question.
Right.
And none of them now I didn't read all 63, and I won't, and I wouldn't, but I read as many as I could get my hands on, and none of them pled fraud. So it was disappointing to me that someone who would have the pulpit that our current congressman has would intentionally lie about it. But I mean, that's just the nature of politics right now.
Right,
Okay,
right.
you're going to have truth tellers and spin doctors.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
entertainers, that's what we've really been seeing. And my God, Trump was at one point an entertainer. So you honestly can't fault him for going back to his old ways. It may have just been pre-programmed to, I got to keep the people entertained. So, but yeah, I don't know if people are trying. I see this a lot, especially with Trump, especially with people that are in positions like congressman or woman, whatever. But I see them trying to entertain or really lock in the votes that they already have. And then that just so happens to be like a certain group, just the far out right people. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, you already have those people dedicated to you. They're 100% going to vote for whether it be Ronny or someone like Trump. Why would they not, like we were talking about before this was on the knife's edge, why would they not get back to the middle and then try reaching for, different avenues of people rather than just staying locked into that far out group? And I'm just like, tweeting something as silly as "Stop the Steal," you're just trying to entertain that one group of people that is already in agreement with you. Why wouldn't you try being more in the middle of the road and, being more for people of both sides, or at least trying to attract people of both sides? Whenever you tweet something like that, you're locking in your position to the people that already dedicated their allegiance to you, so to say. And that's what we were talking about before we got on here, how people are just kind of in this weird team mode. And then so it's just such a silly way that we've gotten into. But like we said, we're feeding into it also. So anyway, so January 6th happened. You've seen some crazy tweets and you knew that you wanted to do something about it. So what happened after that?
Well, so like beginning November 4th, he was saying it over and over and over again, like every day, not what he was going to do for us,
Right.
not how happy he is that he gets to represent us,
Right.
not discussing our needs, not anything that a representative, because that's his job, is supposed to do, which is
Right.
represent us. He's got a constituent. It's of one, and he lives in Mar-a-Lago that I see. There, it's not the 767,000 souls in the 13th district.
Right.
Because, I'm a woman of faith, and out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I never hear him talk about us.
Okay.
It's always about his one constituent in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. And I'm a little tired of it myself.
Yeah.
So I said, I thought about it. I prayed about it a lot. I felt like it was put on my heart to do it. I tried to negotiate with God. He wasn't having it. I felt like that was happening. And so I said, you know what? And then I think he said what kind of pretty much said, okay, I've got to do something. And this was before we picked up Denton, was my opponent tweeted, Democrats hate God, they hate America, they hate families. And he says that over and over and over again. We're anti-God. And I'm thinking, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up and I'm going to show people what a Democrat looks like.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you've lived with one. You've gone to church with one. You know her kids. You know her friends. She's probably represented you.
Right.
I'm tired of this. I don't understand. Like I told you earlier, I'm like, it used to be they were fighting for us and our vote. And somehow it's gotten so twisted that now we're fighting for them. And it makes no sense. And I see it, as we all do, we see everything from the lens with which we view life, right? Well, I remember when I was a baby attorney, I had a car wreck case, and it was 2 defendants against me. And the 2 defendants were so busy blaming each other that I just sat back, and it was one of the biggest verdicts I ever got. And I think the same applies today. Like, if politicians can get us fighting, they can just sit back.
Exactly.
That's it. They don't have to earn the vote. They don't have to problem solve at all. They don't have to explain what they do or do not do. And it's a exquisite con.
Yeah.
And I just, as a member who lives here, I'm like, listen, we have real problems in this district. We have water shortage. We have droughts. We have fires. We have children with a poverty rate of 25%. Some of our counties, there's one county up in the Panhandle that has a poverty rate almost the same as the country of Mexico.
Oh, not good.
Yeah.
What county is that?
I can't remember, but that's a lot. We have, like I told you, a maternal mortality rate that is worse than any other developed country. We have people who are so desperate for mental health care that they turn to addiction, to drugs, alcohol. We have soldiers killing themselves. We have homeless vets right here in Wichita Falls, and Base Camp Lindsay can't even get the federal dollars to build their homeless shelter because of all the regulations that the federal government does.
Gotcha.
We have real problems, and I'm not the one who's going to get down in these culture wars. If you want me to ban books, don't vote for me, because it's not happening.
Right.
If you want me to make fun of Mr. Potato Head, I remember that.
Oh, that's right. They did try canceling him, I think. I think they may have done it. Was that like because Mr. was in his name? I can't remember.
know.
I never really got into that, but that's right. That is right.
It's like, what next? Or CRT, which is not being taught in our schools.
What was that?
CRT, critical race theory.
Okay.
That is a master's degree program or a doctorate degree program, which I took in law school.
Okay.
And what it is explains why laws like the Jim Crow laws were put in effect. Okay. So if you're wondering, why did Texas and all the southern states allow the government, the state government, to separate and say, colored people, is what they called them, couldn't drink out of a water fountain, couldn't swim with you, couldn't eat at the lunch counter. It's because of the racist notion that people of color had germs and that they were unhygienic. And that is what critical race theory is. It explains why laws that don't make sense to us now were actually on the books back in the day.
Gotcha.
That's all it is.
Okay.
It's not teaching people to hate themselves for the color of their skin.
Right. And I think it's just so easy nowadays to basically just sweep everything under the rug and then take like a little bit of piece of information over any topic, highlight it, throw kind of the meat and potatoes under the rug, and then just really latch on to whatever it is, whether it be something to do with critical race theory or something to do with, there's a lot of talk of sexuality and gender problems, of just fitting into the cultural environment. It's cold in here.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
What I see happening, and I want to just talk about this if I can.
Okay.
What I see happening, and I'll give people props even if I don't agree with it. The Republican extreme party and like the far right media sources, they are excellent at taking a phrase, blowing it way out of proportion, giving you just enough information to make you look ignorant to people who actually know, and then feeding that to you over and over and over again until it becomes rote. One of the things I've heard, for example, the issue of abortion. They say there's someone who says, well, I don't like women going back over and over and over again for abortions as a form of birth control. And I said, do you know anyone who did that? Well, no.
Exactly.
I was like, do you know, like statistically, it does not happen.
Exactly.
There is another one where they talk about, well, what about these parents who are forcing their children to be transgender? I'm like, what parent would do that? Like, do you even know of anyone who does that? No.
Exactly. And, you know, you could just hear of one or two stories from no telling how long ago or how recent or where it was, and then they latch on to that. And it's crazy whenever you start taking a step back and you start questioning both sides and the whole, just say political realm. It's like, wait, we're having a blanket thrown over our head on both sides. And this is such a, basically a lazy tactic that everyone is doing rather than, well, it turns out the actual truth is kind of boring. Whenever you get everything out on the table, have factual, real stories, real maybe interviews or actual facts, it's not that exciting. And when things aren't that exciting, they don't sell that well. So you have to get the extreme side of things. You have to get extreme opinions or extreme stories, whether it be someone that allegedly uses abortions for birth control over and over, or someone that forced their kid. You latch onto these things because, man, it sells like hotcakes, or you get people on that website just clicking. And that's how we get so focused on far left and far right. And then you start considering what is an extreme to, oh, that's just how that group is. And that's not true. There's so many level-headed people from both sides of the table, and I'm friends with both sides of the table. That's the whole meaning to having this podcast is I don't want to just talk to Democrats. I don't want to just talk to libertarians, and I don't want to just talk to Republicans. I want to hear it from everybody, and I want to put the information out for everybody because we can probably learn that we're all pretty similar. We're going to have some differences, and we're going to, view things a little bit different or disagree upon different things. But we probably have a lot more in common with our fellow neighbor or you and me, whatever it is, than we want to accept or realize. And then that's what I want to do with this is put the information out there. Let's start agreeing on some stuff and prove that, you're a Democrat. I don't want to be considered anything anymore because the way things are going. But we can agree and we can be friends, and we're going to be here to build bridges and not tear them down. So it's just so easy to get latched on to these crazy things.
Well, and so I have a theory, and I have no degree in sociology. I'm gonna own that up right now, or psychology. But here's my
disclaimer.
Theory. Yeah, that's my disclaimer.
There you go.
But people want to belong. I mean, we all do.
Yes.
We're social by nature, and so what they
and tribal by nature as well.
That's true. And I think what they, as in the politicians, have figured out both sides. Okay, is that if you can get people on your side, then there's power in popularity.
For sure.
There's a lot of money in politics.
Yeah,
I'm here to tell you, folks, a lot of money, of which I have not gotten much of.
Allegedly, there's a lot of money.
So I hear.
Gotcha.
So, but the hard thing is, you're not going to raise $10 million in a day if you're a problem solver. Okay. And we've got to remember, everybody, this is your choice on November. You can have this, because this is the only choice you have. You can have someone who's on Fox News and One American News and Newsmax every day, and he's tweeting and he's Facebooking and he's causing problems and he stirs up trouble. Don't believe me, read his tweets. It's like, oh my gosh, this man is mad at the world, I mean, it's just so caustic every day. It's exhausting. I mean, how can you have that much anger all the time? It would wear me out.
Exactly.
Or you can have somebody who's from here, who knows our real problems, who understands that it's important to come back every single month. Fun fact, everybody, your congressman who you haven't seen in 2 years is paid by your taxpayer dollars to come back once a week every month. He gets paid to be here. His offices are paid for. His staffing is paid for. His rental car is paid for. His airport is his airfare is paid for, all by your tax dollars. So if you're asking why you haven't seen him, ask him. You're seeing him now because I'm running, But I mean, if you have a home up in DC, when your district's down here, then you're not going to be down here.
Right.
And as a person who's represented my clients for 20 years, I cannot represent you if I don't talk to you.
Right.
Because I don't know what your problems are.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you need from me. And so I'm going to do a really bad job. And I plan on taking that exact same ethos to Congress. My job is very simple: to represent, to the best of my ability, the 767,000 souls in this 13th district. That's it.
Gotcha.
It's not to be on TV. It's not to write a book like my opponent has already done. I'm like, seriously? You wrote a book before you even got in office? It's not about that. It's about having a real person from here who's going to go fight for you. And that's your choice, and it's a tough choice because a lot of people identify with the Republican Party, but I'm not asking you not to be a Republican. I'm asking you to vote for your interests.
There you go.
Okay. Because you don't owe your loyalty to your party.
Right.
They owe their loyalty to you.
I like that. Yeah, I agree 100%. And, like you said, it's kind of hard to know what's going on or what problems you need to fix if you're not in it, and so it's just kind of sad to think that you have a representative. It's kind of in the job title that's not in it or not in the district, seeing what's going on, seeing this drought, seeing these farmers that are walking around on crunchy fields because all their grass is dead, and now they're trying to sell cows for pennies on the dollar, and you just don't know what's going on if you're not here. So perfect topics to bring up. And I mean, it's just good to have that information so we can be more informed as taxpayers, as voters, and then we can start holding people more accountable. And then I have no ill will against Ronny. I'm not running against him, so I don't have anything against him. But, man, you want to feel represented, and I'm pretty positive a couple hundred years ago, our ancestors fought an entire war over not being represented, and being taken advantage of. And honestly, they went to war for a lot less than some of the things that we're going through right now. And it's just kind of sad to feel like you're kind of getting left behind or not paying attention to. And then so it brings up a good question. If you were to win, and you got these allowances or these things paid for, like you just mentioned that Mr. Jackson does, what would your ideal workflow look like of coming back and being highly involved in your district?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Yeah, okay,
I'm
cool.
so excited that someone's finally asked me this question.
For sure.
So, and all my clients out there, give me a shout out because they know how I am,
Okay,
right? And
cool.
I've represented a bunch of people out
Cool.
here. So I've already talk about putting the cart before the horse. I've already
Okay.
printed out like it's called the Congressional Campaign Calendar.
Okay.
So if you want to know when your representative was supposed to be here, it's online.
Okay.
And so what I do, so since it's from Delhart to Denton, what I thought would happen more likely than not is I will probably get one-way tickets.
Okay.
So I would either fly into DFW or Love Field, visit a couple of days in Denton. Of course, my home and my husband is here in Wichita Falls.
Okay.
And then stay with him, for a couple of days, and then go on to Amarillo and kind of stop all along the smaller areas like Wilbarger, Electra. But then, and then fly out. But then also, one thing, there's always a silver lining, no matter how dark it is, people, there's always a silver lining. And COVID taught us this. There's a lot you can do through Zoom.
Sure.
So whenever they don't pay, because they only pay you to come back once a month. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's your own ticket.
Gotcha.
So,
But man, they make a lot of money, so
well, so people say that, but let me just break this down for you, okay? So you make $174,000 a year.
okay.
But you get no tax deduction for the place you have to stay in DC.
Okay.
And an apartment in DC, like a studio, runs like $2,000 to $2,500 a month.
Golly.
So not really.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to hurt me financially a little bit, but that's all right. That's fine. I would probably try and do like an extended stay, because to me, if I don't have an apartment there, then it's not ever my home, and then I always have to come back as much as possible.
Right, right.
And I think if it were me, the first thing I would do is like, we need to create dormitories for these the House of Representatives, so they can't get comfortable in DC.
Gotcha.
And you sleep like you're in college with a roommate, and then you come back home, right?
Yeah. And then you really come to find out that kind of life will never be lived by these people, because when you're able to vote for basically your own salary, your own working conditions, everything that you're completely in control of, and then everyone that's voting with you is also going to be in similar situations, whether it be their salary or their living conditions in other states to DC. You really learn that, man, they always pick the best option for themselves.
Of course they do.
And that brings me to, I was so proud, and I'm always going to talk about it. Whenever my dad got elected as a county commissioner, they immediately decided as a group, let's cut our salaries. And that was something I was so prideful of, just being like, that's awesome, dude, because they don't get paid crazy, but it's an honest wage to get that job. And then to be like, we want more money in this budget, so let's take it from our own pockets. And then that, I really respected all four of those men. They've changed. A couple of them have changed since. But you don't see that translate to a bigger scale. I don't know anything on the Texas state level, but, man, in the federal level, a lot of those men and women aren't struggling.
No, because so here's the reality, right? They all get book deals. They all, and I don't understand this. I would vote right away. It's like, you cannot inside trade. If Martha Stewart, who makes a fantastic cookbook and better cake, had to go to penitentiary for 5 months for supposedly inside trading, then we should too.
Yeah.
But I was,
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah,
okay.
right? It's like, I have a lot of feelings. They're going to run me out of there, right?
Yeah.
If I get them to DC.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we don't like you. I was like, well, I'm from Texas. I'm from North Texas, to be specific.
Exactly. And quick question, were you born and raised here?
No, my husband was. So my husband is Michael Brown.
Okay.
We've been married 28 years.
Awesome.
His dad was Joe Brown of KFDX. Good old Joe Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, and so.
Did they call him Big Joe Brown?
No, they called him Good Old Joe Brown.
Good old Joe Brown. Did he do a morning show?
He did. He did a morning show on KFDX. He also wrote for Times Record News.
Okay.
And he was the farm director. So a lot of people know him. He is such a good guy.
Cool.
And he's just an amazing person.
Gotcha.
And for me, I guess, like, if you had to say, Kathleen, what is the one reason why you're running more than anything, is that, in my opinion, the current congressman does not reflect in action or in deed or in word the heart and soul of Wichita County.
Okay.
Because I was born in Harris County.
Okay.
And I moved up here when I was 30 after I finished law school, because Michael's family were getting older, and he really wanted us to move up here.
Gotcha.
And so we sold everything and came up here to take care of them in their elderly years.
Cool.
And the people here are so nice. Like, you are not going to sit in silence in an elevator.
Right. That's true. I talked to everybody in this building in the elevators. That's so true. It's a real sense of what they call Southern hospitality.
It is, but it's not on the gloss, right? So, like, for instance, maybe I'm just aware of it because this is my town, but think about how philanthropic we are. I mean, we are not a rich town.
Right.
We are actually not as well off as the rest of Texas, and definitely not as well off as the nation. But think about all of the charities that we support. I mean, and they never, that tree on top of Chase Bank Building, that tree never does not get lit for hospice, right? I'm like, and I'm so proud of this town, and I love this town so much.
Heck yeah.
And I just want I want the rest of the world to see that we are not Ronny Jackson.
Okay.
We're not.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that was one of my big missions with this whole podcast, was taking Wichita Falls to the world. And I kind of got a little bit of inspiration. Have you heard of Night Street Studios across the street?
No, but you're about to tell me about
Yes. Awesome plug here. And they're an art gallery. And they also have some offices for rent, but they do an art exhibition, I think, around every 3 months or so. And then they have an artist come in, they hang several pieces up, and then they give them the floor to talk, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, man, we went to one, and it was actually my new friend Anthony, and he's been on the show. Anyways, we go, we watch. I'm like, this is amazing. But if you're not in these four walls, I don't think anyone knows that this is going on. we need to take this to the world. And then I was kind of already on this notion of I wanting to start a podcast, blah, 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 is already in the works. But that really helped me coin it was we need to take Wichita to the world. And then that's kind of like you saying, we need to prove that Wichita is not just who's representing it now. So I like how those two correlate. But I was going to...
but I wanted to mention something that what got me so excited is, and people know this, but so let's talk a little bit about the demographics of Wichita Falls.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, arguably the 13th district is reported as the most conservative district in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Like super red,
Okay.
like so red. But we have to also own up to the fact that we have an extraordinarily low voter turnout.
How sad.
It's bad. Like in the midterms, not the presidential, but in the midterms, we don't even get a third of the people who are registered to vote. Not people eligible, just who are registered to actually get up and go vote. And so what's happening is we're letting a minority control the majority.
True.
And that's giving us the impression that, and I'm not saying that, but realistically, when you're really, 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 really far to the right and you're super, super conservative, a lot of people are going to think, well, I'm not going to fit in there because, they may not like that I'm not white or I'm not Christian. And that's just not true for Wichita Falls.
I agree.
That is so not true. Or that they're going, like I might be someone who love someone of the same sex as me, and are they gonna drag me by the back of a pickup truck? I'm like, no, that is not true. That happened in Houston, but that doesn't happen in Wichita Falls.
Gotcha.
So people don't see, in my opinion, I'm gushing, but I love this town. Okay,
Yeah.
They just don't see the beauty of the people here.
Yeah, I like that.
When we go to church, we mean it.
Yeah. And
our hearts are just so loving. We're so giving. We're so understanding. Even if we don't identify, we're trying not to judge you because we here really do, those who do go into the scripture, and for people who don't, we don't push it on you, but we really believe what Jesus told us, which is, don't you worry about the speck in your brother's eye when you got a plank in your own.
Exactly.
And we really try and follow that. And what I would love to do, my dream of all dreams for this little town is if this district voted for a Democrat in the most conservative district in the nation, we will get that global recognition we've been trying to get for so long. And when CNN and Fox and ABC and CBS comes down here and they want to interview me and say, well, what'd you do? I was like, I didn't do anything. The people did it. So you need to go out on the streets and look at these wonderful people that I've lived with for 20 years. And this is where the nation needs to be, ladies and gentlemen. The people of Wichita Falls is who you want to emulate. You want their kindness, you want their strength, you want their independence, you want their generosity. If we could get the rest of the nation to be like our little city, I think we'd be in such a better place.
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot of good traits, so to say. But man, we could really grow up in a sense and kind of catch up to other people like Harris County or like Tarrant County. And in some ways, I agree with majority of everything you just said. And then in others, we kind of live in a past century of like where we're not caught up to the times, where maybe our businesses or our how we work as a society is just kind of dated. So we kind of need to catch up, but we're in the process of it.
Well, I think one of the things, and we have to own it when we do something wrong, right? So 2 things that I see happening. One, we don't get out and vote. Okay, so if you want change, it starts with yourself.
You have to make change.
Yeah, it's got to start with you. Like if you've always sit this one out, well, you got to get up. If you're not registered, you got plenty of time. You have until October 8th.
And there's so much help too to get registered. It's on Facebook. Beto had an entire team trying to sign you up. Like there's so much help. It's not a daunting task. YouTube, how to do it. You can find the help.
It's on my website.
Yeah, there
go to voter resources.
There you go.
There
Perfect.
it is. It's like, click on it and they'll mail it to you. So number one, we don't get out and vote, right? And the reason why. And then when we do get out and vote, we always vote the same way every time, no matter who the person is, right?
Agreed.
And it's like, listen, if y'all want change, if you want someone who will really bring modernization to the city, you have to get someone who's going to shout from the rooftops about how great the city is.
Perfect.
Right? But what we have right now is someone who talks about, I don't know, he just makes us look so hateful, and we're just not.
I just kind of feel disconnected from him, honestly, too. Like, I don't know. There was a younger gentleman that ran against him. Was it earlier
Gus,
this year?
Yeah, no. Gus, it was in 20. It was Gus Trujillo. I always mispronounce it.
Okay. And then is that the guy that kind of wore like cowboy plaid shirts and he came around our area a lot? There was one dude that was pretty close from here, and he ran as a Republican and lost in the primaries.
That's Josh Weinecker.
Yeah, that's who it was. And then you got a more sense of like a hometown kid from him. The kind of the sense that you're getting from you right now, talking about loving your area, talking about really being involved. And I kind of felt removed from Ronny. And I'm not dissing him, I'm not throwing him under the bus, but I just felt like I don't really know this guy. But I saw that Josh was going to different large farmers, big employers in this area, and being like, what do we need to do? What are problems that you're, facing right now? And I was like, okay, that's a kid that's really trying. I say kid, he's probably 30 to 40, whatever. But it was really someone that seemed ingrained into this society and ingrained into this city or area, and then similar to you and your story. I'm resonating the two. I'm not comparing y'all, but I can just see y'all have similar traits, and then I like that. I like the feeling of you're easy to reach or get a hold of. It's just nice to know that we're not so removed and have this. You brought up Hunger Games earlier, but like level of separation from the normies to the higher ups,
It's true.
And
it's
not.
true.
It's such a gross feeling,
And I think that's why we see the turnout we see.
Yes.
And in fairness to Josh, even though he and I may not agree on a lot of policies because he's a Republican,
right?
You're, in my opinion, you're not going to get a reasonable Republican to primary Ronny.
Right.
The only way you're going to get someone to go to D.C. who is moderate is either elect me. Well, and then that's it.
Yeah, there you go. That's your only ticket in.
Sorry, guys.
Not much options there. But I wanted to ask, because we touched it a little bit, but in not this year, I guess it was. When did we have the last primaries?
The primaries were, well, he wasn't primaried because.
When was the last elections we just had?
2020. Or you mean for this seat?
No. What was the most recent?
Well, the most recent was.
Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay.
It was like, because a good friend of mine ran for city council.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so I go and to Owl Park, I find the voting places, and then there was maybe, I'd say, being generous, a 40 or 50-year-old person there. And then if you were to take that person and take them out of the building, I was the youngest person there by, I want to say like 40 years. And I just don't fully understand that, because whenever it came to, Trump running against Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, everyone my age was shouting from the rooftops, vote this person, vote for Bernie, vote for Trump, blah, blah, blah. And then you take those high names or more popular names out of the hat, and no one talks about anything. And I was just like, this is so almost embarrassing for my generation, because I thought it was our responsibility as voters, as citizens, as, taxpayers, to vote and to know what we're voting on. And then when I walk into, it was just a recreational center in Owl Park, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is disappointing. I don't even know anybody here because they're my grandparents' age. And no, diss on the people there, but it was sad that there was no one my age. So I'm just curious how to ask you, how do we get younger people more involved?
Well, I think, again, I'm not a history major, but I noticed that there are there are patterns and practices, right? So in the 60s, when women and minorities were fighting for their rights, there was a huge push of activism. And then, like all of us, we get complacent, right? We win. We get our right to control our bodies protected. We get the Civil Rights Amendment. And so we get complacent and we get
Gotcha.
lazy.
That's true.
I hate to say it, but we do,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens is when you go, because remember 1992 in this district, it went all blue. And we had a 78% voter turnout.
Really?
Yes, 78% people voted in 1992 and it went blue. So that's why I don't believe
What was
it's red.
happening in 92? Is that Clinton?
Clinton.
Okay.
Clinton.
Okay.
And we had Bill Soprolis was a Democrat who took the House.
Okay.
And I don't know I think Ann Richards might have won or she might have won in 94. I can't remember. But we had, and what happened is then we stopped showing up.
Okay.
And if you look, you can look on any county website and you can see that precipitously the voter turnout lowers and lowers and lowers and lowers. And what you'll also see, voters, is that your choices are narrow and narrow and narrow. When you go and look in November, you'll see that besides the statewide election, you don't have very many choices locally. You've got me and Ronny, Walter Coppedge, who's running against James Frank.
That's right, in the 69th district.
What
is that? 69th district, I think. Yeah.
And then nobody else.
Okay.
And that's our fault because one, we don't get out and vote, and two, we don't make people earn it. We let the entire future of our country and our kids rest on a letter behind a name.
Yeah.
And
or color, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make it's not hard to do. You just say you are and prove me wrong.
Yeah. And there's been cases even in our county of knowing what, say, a district or a precinct heavily votes and just putting that letter behind their name and saying, I'm your guy, getting in. And some have even changed in office and said, I'm no longer a D, I'm an R. And it's just that simple because no one did any research on them or didn't look into back. Wait, they've been a Republican for the past 20 years openly, and then now they're running as a Democrat because they've lost the last 3 elections, and then he won this 4th. Like, it's sad to say, but I guess that could be like greenwashing, so to say, but with politics instead of products or whatever. But yeah, it's just kind of sad, but I didn't know about that stuff in the 92 and 94 that you're talking about. I wasn't even born back then. So.
No. But I've had children that were, though.
Right. But yeah, it is. We can get complacent, and then we've coined the phrase now to be the most informed generation ever, but then also the most misinformed generation ever.
But, the thing, what I'm hopeful about is millennials and Gen Z, y'all are so used to someone trying to get something from you.
True.
That y'all have a healthy dose of cynicism. And so what I would tell people, like if you're trying to figure out between me and Mr. Jackson who you're going to vote for, it's the information's at your fingertips. Go to his website, go to my website. Google him, Google me. Look at my Twitter, his Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not big on TikTok. That stuff's hard.
It is. There's a lot to go on. And yes.
But I do have a TikTok.
Good.
Grumble.
Staying involved. That's what you got to do.
Trying. And just figure out, okay. And then I always tell people, if you really want to know what people think about me, look up me as an attorney. That's way before I tried to run for anything, and see what my client said about me. Because that's going to tell you what they say, how they say I represented them. Is how I'm going to represent you.
Awesome.
So ask yourself, is that what I'm looking for?
I like that. And then, those people paid a lot of money to have you represent them. So they're going to expect a lot. And just like a Yelp review or whatever of a restaurant, someone has an honest opinion about you. And if you piss somebody off, they're more than likely going to write something about it. But man, do you ever just get in the position be like, this place was so great, or like, I just love these people that operate this business, I'm gonna write a review about them?
I do. I think small business owners, we need to do each other a solid.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
If we everyone has something to say when it's negative, right?
Yeah.
And I hate that because we're not that negative. So if you really enjoy something, give them a shout out. They really could use it.
I agree. I had a funny something happened was my friends own a taco trailer and called Walk-In Tacos, and then I was going there all the time, just great burritos there. And I was like, dude, how do I support this more? I was already paying for my burrito, of course, but I was like, how can I help you out even more? And he was like, just leave me a Google review. I got so many. You can like a Google review or star it or heart it or something. I got so many likes on a Google review over a taco truck. So people are paying attention. People read these things, and then, man, it just goes so far to a small business owner because, man, that puts you up on Google. That helps people find you quicker. If someone just types in, food near me, someone with 50 stars is maybe going to pop up quicker than someone with 10, So reviews are so important to small business owners, like she said. So help your people out.
Yeah, that's why, remember I said earlier on when we started this conversation that people want to be part of something. We want to be part of something. So let's be part of something. Let's be part of this community who support each other, who have each other's back, who's going to vote for someone that other people know and trust. Okay. Because I could have lied and said I'm a Republican, but I felt like, and when this is what I said. I said, I'd rather lose an election than my integrity.
Right.
And if I am sick and tired of being lied to by politicians, why on earth would I start out lying as one,
Exactly.
I always tell my clients, you lie about one thing, you lie about everything. So I'm like, if that letter means that much to you, that you can't vote for someone who will work fiercely for you, then that's your choice. Yeah. But at least I'm giving you a choice.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that. So are you the only Democratic opponent? Did you win the primary?
Yes.
How does it? Okay. I don't didn't know how that works since I'm registered as a Republican, and then so I went up and just saw Ronny's name with.
That's right.
I think it was just Ronny. He didn't have to be opposed this last time. Anyways.
Yeah, and he probably won't. So, I mean, one of the things I'm trying to really get done, if I really hope to win, I think we're going to really appreciate it if I win. I think we're going to get a lot of love and attention and stop being this flyover district, and people are going to stand up and take notice.
That's right. I heard that
term. And you know how we are now when someone says our name nationally, we're like, oh my gosh,
and it's normally for bad things, whether it be a drought or a flood.
Or someone drinking out of a Pringles can.
Yeah. Yep. And then we end up on the Jimmy Fallon show and everything else. So.
So I promise you, if we flip this district, y'all will be sick of hearing Wichita Falls, Wichita Falls, Wichita Falls. But that's because we're going to show people our true colors, which is not red, not blue, but just American.
A little bit of purple.
There's nothing wrong with being purple.
Exactly. And then that's what I think that more people need to acknowledge and realize is that we're more than likely majority purple, and we need to get away from this team or tribal mentality of being like, nope, if it's not red, it's dead, or whatever the sayings are. And it's just like, no, we need to be like, what can I learn from this Democrat? What can I learn from a Republican? And what do they have to say? And what is my personal opinion on that? And then go from there and just stop being a Republican I'm done voting. I like to go through one because there was like rumors. I didn't know if they were true. If you just were hitting Republican all or Democratic all, at one point the votes were getting all scattered and this was getting voted for, yada, yada. So I do go through one by one to make sure I pick who I want to vote for. But, it's a little gross how we're getting so tribalistic, and we're not really weighing in our own opinion anymore. We're just kind of going with the flow. We're going with the wave of what everyone else is doing, or the most popular voice, so to say.
Well, I mean, and here's what we got to remember, guys. We know this as a small community, right? So people don't realize in big cities how it is in Wichita Falls. If you do a good job or a good service, you barely have to advertise once you get going, because word of mouth and excellence creates a good dynamic.
I agree.
And so if we make ourselves up for grabs, as a woman, I'm like, don't take me for granted. I'm not a sure thing. If Wichita Falls says, do not take us for granted, you have no idea who we're going to vote for, then that demands excellence from your from your candidates, because you should be getting the cream of the crop. You should not be getting somebody who wasn't even in Texas since you've been born coming down here because basically he couldn't pass Mitch McConnell's Senate approval for the VA position and setting up down here, when he's not been here.
Yeah.
Don't
like that.
No, I do not like it. I'm like, were you here with the 5, we all were here, right? The 5-gallon bucket in the shower so we could flush our toilet.
Exactly.
No, you weren't.
Exactly.
And so how do you know? How could you begin to know what it's like to be here if you haven't been here in 20 some years?
I agree. And then, just simple things like that, saving our water. What was that? About 2014 and 15-ish. And then just all the fires that our entire district has fought, and then people worrying about losing cows and farms and homes and businesses and everything. When you're removed, you just don't know. Then it's kind of just sad to think that someone's behind the wheel of a bus that they're not even really in, So I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it or too high on my soapbox, but
so I'll just make my final closing, I guess. I got like another podcast in an hour, but I would say that I just really want us to think about maybe voting for our interests this time.
Okay.
I know it's hard. Someone asked me, like, why do you think people vote Republican? And like I told you, I'm like, it's really hard, especially if you've put so much energy and love and affection and attention into something to say I have to walk away from that. And I see this in my business all the time. Like people put all this energy into a loveless, unrewarding marriage. And finally they get enough and they say, this isn't working out. I'm doing all this energy. I'm carrying all this water for you. I'm storming the Capitol for you, and what am I getting out of it? It's because I'm just ask if you feel like your life has gotten better over the last 30 years under Republican rule. Like if you're making more money and your kids are educated and you've got health insurance and you're not worried about a drought and you're getting paid the same as everyone else, then I guess you would continue to vote the way you've always have. But if you're feeling like this is not working out, what's the harm in giving me a girl who's represented people, your friends and your family and your neighbors for 20 years, a chance? The term's only 2 years, right? You need someone who is willing to go up there and work. And let's be honest, it's probably still going to be a Democratic-controlled House and work in the Democratic-controlled House to actually get some stuff done.
Gotcha.
Making enemies is not helpful.
Exactly.
It raises money, but it doesn't get any legislation through.
Good for press, for sure. And then, did you say you're on a time constraint?
Yeah, I have to go. I have another podcast I'm doing in an hour.
Okay, I want to ask one question before you go. Whose podcast is it?
It's The Dirty Moderate out of Austin.
Okay, cool. Are you going to do it like over the phone, over the laptop?
Zoom, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's cool, man. Awesome. Congrats for that.
Thanks.
One hot question that hopefully is going to come down to state level representation, basically. And honestly, I'd like to have you back for another episode so we can dive in more to your opinion sometime soon on your time. But anyways, one last question. If you were to get elected and you had power to vote on this, what's your thoughts on not medical but recreational use of marijuana?
It should be legal.
Thank you. And then, so there's a lot of other plant-based subjects that are classified as Schedule 1 that people in Austin, in Texas, and other states are doing a lot of great research for medicinal purposes. What's your thoughts on, or do you have any thoughts on those other Schedule 1 drugs that are now being actually used as medicinal reasons along with marijuana?
I haven't researched it, but I will tell you this, okay? So, listen, we all know the game, right? It's money.
Yeah.
So, there's a sweetener called stevia.
Yes.
And it was illegal in America for 30 years, even though it's been used for years and years and years and years and years in other countries. Why? Because it's a plant. You can't patent a plant. So, what you need is a representative who says, listen, I might not be able to stop it, but I'll definitely vote against anything that's just trying to give the haves a little more.
Gotcha.
If God made it, chances are, there's some things you shouldn't eat, even though God made it. But marijuana. Listen, in my field, I deal with judges. I deal with CPS officers. And let me tell you something about marijuana, okay? I have never, in the 20 years practicing, had to have a woman come in battered and bruised because someone got high and beat her.
Exactly.
But they have
high
gotten
on
drunk.
marijuana. Say
Right,
that.
right. High on marijuana. But they have gotten drunk and beat her.
And you can go to the grocery store and buy that stuff.
And so I'm like, look, worst case scenario on marijuana, they eat up all your Cheetos, okay? I mean, I do think it needs to be regulated, but I do think that there is a lot of people who are in jail right now over marijuana. And, you know, there's a lot of people roaming around right now who've done a lot worse while they were drunk.
I agree.
You know, so that's my position.
I agree. I love to hear it. And then, Kathleen, I'd like to invite you back whenever you are free so we can pick your brain on more fun topics like that and some more serious topics that if you were to get in your position that you want, then how you would handle it. But so this was Kathleen Brown. You heard it here. I don't know first, but you heard it on this podcast, and she is a local Wichita Falls Wichitan, I guess is what we're called.
Yes.
And you just got to hear a little bit about her. Do you have anything that we didn't get to bring up that you want to?
Yeah, I wanted to just give y'all a shout out and let y'all know who've endorsed me. So that's important when you're figuring out who's been endorsed. So I've been endorsed by the United Rural Democrats because I'm a strong advocate for rural America.
Okay.
I live in rural Archer County.
Yes.
I've been endorsed by the Texas AFL-CIO because I'm a strong advocate.
What is that?
It's a union for workers.
Okay.
So
do you know what the whole...
I should know, I think, but I can't think of the American
Google
Federation of Labor.
Okay.
I've been endorsed by the National Women's Political Caucus because of my hard work and advocacy for women.
Gotcha.
I've been endorsed by the Equal Rights Amendment Coalition because I believe we need to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. I can do that if elected, and that will protect women in Texas, especially from dying. But the only way we're going to get that amendment, because it's passed, the technicality is for some inexplicable reason, even though they got the amendment passed, no one bothered to put it into the Constitution. I don't know why. They just like us. They got what they wanted.
Yeah.
They got what they wanted and they stopped working. And I'm like, well, I sure wish we would have gone ahead and put that thing in there. But anyway, so I would extend the deadline to prove it and then work zealously to get it into the U.S. Constitution. So we don't have to worry about this anymore, ladies and young girls and people who can have who can get pregnant, however you identify. I've also been endorsed by the Youth for Climate Action because I believe that we're going to have to do something about our climate. Denying that it's happening is not going to change the fact that it is.
Right.
And I think everybody up here in North Texas, after all these grass fires and droughts, were like, now something's afoot.
Something's happening.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm sure I'm forgetting some because I've been endorsed so much, but
That's good. Any endorsements that you didn't see coming that you were kind of surprised whenever you got the notification that they're helping you out?
No, not really.
I gotcha.
Not really.
I heard that guy ask Beto O'Rourke about George Soros, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I kind of forgot about that dude. And that's a weird name to bring up. Anybody like that?
No, most of my donors give me $25, $30.
Cool.
So they're all from this district.
That's
There's a
cool.
few people that are out of district because they know what Texas is facing. And here's the thing, like my opponent, like as deadly as it is, and he says on tape that he believes that there's no exception for abortions, that the laws that we have in Texas should be nationwide. And he celebrated when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I'm like, you can do that because you don't have to worry about getting raped. You don't have to worry about dying during a pregnancy. So it's easy for you to sit around and tell us what to do.
Yep, exactly. And then, like we said before, I can't remember if we're on air or not, but it's just the least Texan thing to put more, regulations on anything. So, well, we can wrap it up here. Again, this is Kathleen Brown, and I'm glad that y'all tuned in. If you like this kind of things, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and hopefully we'll hear back from Kathleen very soon because I have a lot more questions for you. But you can also help support the show by finding us on Patreon at Texas Barons and throw us a couple bucks if you want to keep seeing this thing go on. We can get better guests, better experiences and everything. And yeah, tell your friends. Every subscriber matters, and I'm just glad that y'all tuned in and enjoyed the same thing. So thanks, everybody. Kathleen.
Thank you for having me, Levi. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you
it.
bet. Thanks for coming. All right, bye-bye.